Assalamu alaikum, my dear Egyptian brothers and sisters. Before anything else, please turn on captions in Arabic for this video, and please, for all my videos, turn on captions in Arabic, even if you understand English. And when you leave comments, you can leave comments in whatever language you like, but you can leave them in Arabic, and YouTube will be able to translate them for me automatically. That way we can communicate best. So this is how you turn on captions. Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters here in Egypt where I am and across the Arabic-speaking world. I believe in being completely transparent as much as possible. And therefore, even though most of my videos are in English and addressed either to Jews or to Israelis or to other English-speaking people, I would like those as well to be able to be watched with Arabic subtitles. Here is how you can watch any video with subtitles. Click on the YouTube application. Click on the video you want to watch. Click on Settings in the upper right-hand corner, Captions, Auto Translate, Arabic. Voila! There you go. And because the Arabic captions appear quite rapidly, if you'd like, you can actually slow down the video with the captions as well. There you go, playback speed, 0.75 times.
That's right. I'm the Chief Rabbi of Egypt at the moment.
Okay, let's begin. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ismi Musa. My name is Musa, and it would appear that even if only by default, I am at the moment the Chief Rabbi of Egypt. What's going on right next door is truly, truly terrible. I don't have to tell you that. It's likely that you only know one side of the story, but that doesn't matter. Even if you knew the whole story, as I think that I do from all sides, it's absolutely terrible. What it does, though, is it gives us an opportunity to figure out right from wrong. And from there, to solve that conflict and all of the other conflicts that we have, and to make a better world. So first of all, with regards to that conflict or any other, I recognize that religion could be a factor for a lot of people that's really important. Many of you, probably most of you, are Muslim, or at least come from a Muslim background. Many of you are Christian, come from a Christian background. Mostly, I have been speaking to Jews thus far. When it comes to religion, we can discuss anything with regards to religion, trying to figure out what's true and what's not true, so long as everybody has complete freedom of speech. No fear. Obviously, there's no reason to be mean. There's no reason to be what we call in English an asshole, right? In other words, to just purposely try to offend somebody. But we have to be able to say, if somebody wants to say, hey, I think that, the Jewish God, Yehovah, doesn't exist or is evil, or that Moses didn't exist or was evil, or that Allah or Muhammad didn't exist or was evil, or that Jesus, etc., etc. That should be acceptable. Understandably, this kind of conversation really only ought to take place among serious, well-behaved individuals. But people have to have the ability to speak freely, otherwise the truth can never be figured out. The same goes for history. If we're going to talk about Israel, Palestine, all of that, anything has to be able to be said without fear. Anywhere in the world. It shouldn't matter where you are. And you shouldn't have any concern that you're the outsider, just as I, here, as a guest of yours in Egypt, have, I have to say, never had reason to fear. You should know that literally I had one individual in my few months here in Egypt, one individual who actually acted towards me badly for anti-Semitic reasons. Of course, most people in Egypt have some conceptions of Jews or Israelis. I'm not actually an Israeli citizen, although I did live for a few years in Israel. I've lived in many countries. I've lived in Spain for years. I've lived in various countries. But I was a tour guide in Israel, and I'm a rabbi. I became a rabbi in Israel as well. Very, very connected with that country and with that land. So people have all kinds of conceptions they come to the table with. But once people meet me, once they see that I'm not the caricature, I'm not the boogeyman. I'm not saying there aren't people who are that boogeyman. There might be. There's bad people everywhere of all kinds. Once people see I'm not that kind, I've only had one problem in Egypt with one person, And that person is an American woman. Truly, an American woman came to Egypt to be anti-Semitic. She must have a very inaccurate, low understanding of who the people are here in Egypt, because I have not experienced that. And so too you, when you're in Europe or in America or anywhere else. You shouldn't have any fear or any concern whatsoever speaking your mind regarding whatever your beliefs are. Unfortunately, people do have that fear, and therefore well-behaved, nice people in general, stay back and don't try to necessarily convince people what they think is true, whether it's about religion or history or politics or anything else. And therefore, the only people who end up speaking happen to be the rowdy, unpleasant folk. It shouldn't be that way. Everybody should be completely free to speak their mind. It's understandable that when you have people speaking in shouts and shrills and threats and with hatred and anger and, then of course freedom of speech is curtailed. But those people who do that are the minority. The vast, vast, vast majority of all of us are able to speak as friends, as adults, as equals. Now, with regards to what's going on in Israel at this point, like I said, most of what I've been doing in my writing and in my speaking has been speaking to Jews and also to Americans and other English speakers who are familiar with Jews. They might not be Jewish themselves, but they might be Christian. Most of them probably are. And even if not, they're very familiar and comfortable with the Jewish perspective, and therefore I'm able to speak to them easily. And I do everything publicly. So I would very much like for you to be able to read and have access to that. That's why it's so important for me that you know how to turn on subtitles for videos. You're also able to translate texts. In other words, a web page with English text. But that's a whole different thing, and that's less important really than the videos. Videos are much more accurate. So you can go to my website. You can check here on YouTube. If you have any questions, anything you want to know about, it's likely that I've written about it already or produced a video, and I can point it to you in the comments. But for now, what I want to say about the Israel-Gaza business is that, again, if you want to look about, if you feel the need to go back to religion, to go back to Bible, Quran, etc., Injil, Torah, or if you want to go historically and all that, we could do that. I happen to love that stuff. I am a rabbi, and I am a historian. I love talking about that stuff, and we can definitely discuss that. But what's most important really is that we cut right through the chase. Here's the actual fact about the life as I see it. Everybody was given fingers and fists by God. Everybody has the ability to wield a sword, to shoot a gun. Every man, woman, or child above the age of reason has the ability. And this world does not belong any more to me than to you than to me, or to anybody more than to anyone else. We are all equal in this. And the fact that nature, or God, however you view it, has made it that we are still contained in these easy-to-destroy bodies means that we are still all equal. It goes without saying that communism has its issues, etc., etc. Trying to go for absolute equality in all things is impossible. How is that even doable? What does that even mean? But it also means that if there are people who can't afford basic medical care, people who are homeless, people who are endangered, who don't have food, who are being killed, who can't afford to get married and get food for their children, they have a moral right to use those fists and whatever else. I'm not recommending that. YouTube would take this down and I would be arrested in any country in the world if I were to recommend that. Plus, I don't recommend it because of all the very obvious reasons that I don't even have to explain. It wouldn't work, etc., etc., etc. But ultimately, it's still true. So when we look at the situation in Israel, Gaza, etc., it's easy to put yourself in anyone's shoes once you know the facts. Once, as the English expression goes, you walk a mile in their shoes. You live among them. As I am obviously doing and have done. I've lived in various Muslim countries, including, and as I told you, I lived in the old city of Jerusalem. I lived in Al-Quds. I was giving tours of Jerusalem for years and years. I understand the different perspectives. And the truth is, they're really not that different. We're all human. We're all so similar. We all suffer from the same things. We all can feel pain with the same things and feel pleasure with the same things. The world is set up in such a way these days, as it always has been, that a few people are in charge. There's a pyramid scheme. Do you know that the Torah says that Jews are not supposed to be living in Egypt? Because the pyramid scheme is still here. The literal pyramids. Now that scheme, by the way, it's not like Jews didn't have any part in it. Joseph in the Torah, in the Bible, very, very clearly had a big part in that. My name is Moshe Yosef, Musa Yusuf. Joseph was a great man, but he also helped to conglomerate power at the top. He also helped to make it such that one guy is all the way on top, and then there's a few, and then the masses and masses of people have to all work for those few people at the top. And the world still works that way. And that's why I have not been able to reach my own people. It's not that they've heard me and disagreed with what I have to say. I think that everything going on right now there is absolutely terrible. Absolutely terrible. It's not that I'm on the side of Hamas or on the side of the Palestinians. I'm looking at all of this pretty much as an outsider because I think they're all nuts. They're all choosing to identify as part of a group. They're all subsuming their own individual identities into a group. For what reason? In chess, the pawns are not really on the same team as their king. Their king sacrifices them. The pawns, white and black, have much more in common than the kings and queens. That's the case all over the world through all of human history. That's an introduction to my thought. And for further discussion, I need a following. I need to actually have people to have that discussion with. And the purpose of this discussion, I want to be clear, is not for the fun of it. It's not for the blah, blah, blah internet bullshit. It's not. It really is not. It's for taking over. It's for changing the system. It's absolutely and truly for taking over. So if you're interested, please get involved.